It's officially summer, and you know what that means. Sun's out, pups out. But do you have to worry about protecting your dog from those harmful UV rays? AlphaPaw's very own vet, Dr. Ross, has all the answers. Welcome back to AlphaPaw, your destination for everything dog. I'm Bernie Zilio, and I'm on a mission to answer every doggone question you have ever had about your fur babies. And today we're talking about whether or not our canine companions need protection from the sun. Thankfully, we have an expert with us today, Dr. Ross Bernstein. Dr. Ross is a seasoned veterinary professional and pet care expert. He earned his doctorate degree in veterinary medicine at UC Davis School of Veterinary Medicine, and his work has been featured in several industry-leading publications, including the Journal of Veterinary Surgery. He is our go-to vet for everything we want and need to know about our fur babies. So welcome back to AlphaPaw, Dr. Ross.
Hey, Bernie. Good morning.
Good morning. So thank you so much for being here, Dr. Ross. Now, I'm super excited to talk to you about today's topic, which I find partly comical simply for the idea of someone rubbing sunscreen all over their dog. So I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on this. Now, most dogs, not all, but most dogs are covered in hair or fur, but we all know that there is skin under that floof and it needs some TLC too. So Dr. Ross, is the sun as dangerous for our dog skin as it is for us humans?
Yeah. The kind of like you said, some dogs are not completely covered in hair and fur. And even some dogs that are very hairy still have parts of their body that are not completely covered with hair or fur. So yeah, they can definitely be at risk, especially if they're out in the sun during the hottest hours of the day. If they're out and they have parts of their skin exposed, they're definitely susceptible to solar-induced injuries, just like us.
How often, like, I'm not asking this to scare viewers, I'm genuinely curious, like, is skin cancer something that you often treat in dogs?
Skin cancer, not sun-induced skin cancer.
Oh.
Maybe a veterinary dermatologist sees that much more than I do. But definitely, sometimes we do see sunburns. There's different cancers that can be caused by sun and other dermatopathies. So some breeds that are hairless or hairless in certain regions, dogs that have had some sort of scar or injury where the hair doesn't grow back, places of their body like the tips of their nose, the tips of their ears, or even on their belly if they like to lie out in the sun on their back. So you mentioned earlier, some dogs are covered in hair and you don't want to put if the hair is completely covering the skin, you don't need to put sunscreen on those parts of the body. But the parts of the skin, and especially in dogs that have more pale skin or less lighter pigmented, those are the ones that are more at risk. And the areas that are not covered by hair, and especially areas that are like scars or places that are wound healing, that the skin is very fresh and tender, those are the more at-risk areas.
So fascinating. You really painted a bigger picture for me, because I'm over here thinking, oh, my dog's covered in hair, he's fine. But like you said, the tips of the nose, or if he does like to lay out on his back oftentimes in the sun. I mean, these are things that we don't really think about for our dogs, but maybe for ourselves. So I'm glad we're talking about that. Now, I would imagine, like you said, some dogs are more susceptible than others. And if they have a ton of hair in a specific region, maybe we don't have to be so worried about it. But I have to ask, is human grade sunscreen appropriate to use on those areas that are susceptible to sun damage for our dogs?
Most of the time, yes, but you'll have to check the ingredients to make sure that none of them are going to be toxic to dogs. Because remember, especially if you're rubbing it on their belly or on their nose, the dogs are going to lick it. And so sometimes they'll contain ingredients that are not safe for dogs. And so there are definitely plenty of sunscreen options that are pet friendly and that are safe for use in dogs. Some, and I'll mention cats too. There are some specific sunscreens for cats as well. But most of the time, especially if they're applied in small amounts, that amount of sunscreen, unless your dog eats the whole bottle, it's probably going to be okay.
So if your dog is our producer's dog, he would eat the whole bottle. Okay, so in addition to sunscreen that's preferably either pet friendly or like you said, I cannot believe there's sunscreen specifically for cats, and I would actually pay to watch someone apply sunscreen to their cat. That's a topic for another day. What other ways can we protect our dogs or cats, but mostly dogs, from the sun?
Some other ways. So yeah, of course, the sunscreen. So applying it if they're out in the sun a lot. So reapplying it, and especially to those areas that are exposed. But then other ways is, of course, keeping them indoors. But I mean, sometimes you can't and you're outside. Shaded areas, avoiding the hottest hours of the day. So depending on your region, but usually like between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m., those types of hours. And then, yeah, again, there are certain sunscreens that are specifically made or ones that are more safe for dogs.
Now, I want to ask, I know that sun shirts exist for humans. I've seen them exist for dogs. Is that a viable option in your expert opinion?
Yeah. So certainly, especially if they're one of those hairless breeds, and sometimes it's a big region to be covering with sunscreen. I guess our bodies are bigger, so I take that back. But yeah, covering their bodies with hair or sun suits are good options as well.
Oh my gosh, it's adorable. Like my dog's completely covered in hair, but I think I might need to invest in a little sunsuit because the idea just so cute. Okay, well, Dr. Ross, as always, thank you so much. I personally learned a lot today because that is not something I never associated sunburns or sun issues with my dog, but it's something for all of us to keep in mind, especially now that the summer months are ahead of us. So if you guys have any additional questions about sun protection for your dog, or maybe your own personal anecdotal stories about it, go ahead and drop that in the comment section below. Again, I'm Bernie Zilio, and this is Alpha Pop. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single doggone episode. We'll see you next time.